Well, hey, gamers, welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue. Excuse me, 30 plus year video game enthusiast, which I cover latest video game news, games I've been playing. Yeah, just a bunch of games, video games, and games. What's going to be going on today? Well, there is still a little bit of bad news, just a little bit. Although it's just more interesting news, maybe helpful news for the industry. We're just going to talk a little bit about that just because it's been mentioned before. And then there's other cool little things to talk about. And then if there's time, I'm going to jump into a game, another interesting game that I want to play and kind of see what it's about. Well, howdy, Chris. Good to see you on this fine morning. And the day before Halloween, is it like All Hallows Eve or something? Or maybe that's referring to something else? I don't know. But yeah, Halloween. I've got my Batman costume completed, although I haven't, I think I posted it maybe on the Gundam Explained Discord, but I'll share some images here tomorrow, because I was doing the test fitting yesterday. I did everything except the black paint around the eyes, because that sticks for a while. But yeah, let's get into it. Oh no, it's funny. I didn't really get to play too much yesterday. A lot of stuff was going on. Even during yesterday's stream, we had a leak in the ceiling, and then we had to get someone to come out and just fix it, find it and fix it. And then once that happened, we had to get someone out to come and estimate the repair of the water damage. So that's fun. So that was my distracted yesterday. Jumping real quick to Exophase. Yeah, yesterday for the stream, I played the Precinct, which is really awesome. I'm buying that day one. That is just classic gameplay fun, but with really good graphics and tight controls. Hey, Ultron, it's good to see you. Yeah, and it's not as bad as it could be. Luckily, we can function as normal. It's just there's a hole in the ceiling. And it might cost a bit to fix that, but we'll figure it out. But then, yeah, Castlevania Advanced Collection. So I'm still at Dracula's second form, and I'm figuring it out. But it's very interesting now that I've played through this game up to this point again, realizing why I didn't like it. And it is because the back half, or the back, not even third, just the back like 5%, it's almost like the game wants you to just go, and I might need to do this, just go and explore more. Even though I've pretty much explored most of the castle, there's just one area I haven't yet, and it's completely optional. Maybe I just need to do that. It's more of a challenge area. It's the battle arena, because you can't use any magic, and you just do floors of killing enemies. Maybe I just need to do that before I defeat Dracula. It's just this Dracula, it gets to a point to where it's easy, but it takes a long time because he does this form where he tries to attack you, and you just have to jump out of the way. And then he becomes this eye, but surrounded by bats. And you have to try to hit the eye, but then there's bats around that will hit you, and they will kill you in like 2 hits. So it's like, it's just trial and error. Not even trial and error. It's luck. It's the luck that your whip actually hits the eye. Anyway, even if you hit the eye, and then he goes back to his form where he tries to fly at you and you dodge it, I can dodge that perfectly. It's just it takes forever to whittle down the health. And that's after you defeat his first form, which I would say the first form is harder because it's easier to get hit. The second form, it's not as easy to get hit. It's just harder to actually hit the eye. Anyway, it goes back to what I was saying yesterday. Circle of the Moon has a really good front part of the game. It's just that back part. And that's the other thing. I talked about the DSS card. So maybe what I should do is not try to beat Dracula yet, and then just go farm for the rest of the cards. I'll level up that way. Go beat the battle arena. I'll level up that way. I don't know. Yeah, that's where it's kind of lopsided in its pacing. But yeah, that's about it. That's really all I did yesterday, because not only was I dealing with the plumber and the dude for the leak, but I was also finishing and testing my Batman cosplay, but also, and I'll change this, nearly done. It nearly looks like it's done. In fact, it could be considered done. There's just some little It's Sananji Stein. There's just some more decals I want to put on it. There are so many. There's hundreds. And I kind of want to finish that before I do a proper review. So, all right. Let's move on to some interesting news that I came across. Okay, a couple things here. So, the big thing that happened yesterday after the show was the confirmation that Sony is shutting down Firewalk Studios, the maker of the recent shooter Concord. So, there was this talk of them trying to go back and figure out, okay, what are we going to do, make it free to play? No, they just shut down the entire studio. So not only did this game get made that they spent nearly $400 million on, and you know I could go on and on about all this all the time. I think and they're saying Concord's development deal was just over $200 million, not including marketing or the studio's purchase. Yeah, so I mean that $200 million is a lot on its own. So, what's this? From Autonomous, do you think Concord is just dead or bringing it back under a new studio? No, they have said it's not coming back. It's done. I forgot what the actual verbiage was, and that's crazy. That I really thought that it would just come back as a free-to-play game, but apparently, yeah, it's really shut down. Apparently, it was going to be too costly for them to run the servers. I think they crunched the numbers and just it was the lack of people that even cared to play it anyway. Like right in the first less than 2 weeks, it was less people than any I forget what it was, but it was like the smallest turnout. And then, you know, the noise that's online about it, and that's the thing, even for me personally, I wasn't going to play it because there was nothing about it. Oh yeah, they also said something about the saturation of the market of hero shooters when, not that there's a saturation, but more of going back to anytime a company attempts a hero shooter outside Overwatch, it doesn't really work. Overwatch was a thing. People liked Overwatch because of the character designs too. People really connected with that. Concord doesn't really have that. People were like, what are these character designs? But just people didn't care to play it. Even me. There was no way. And, you know, there's another hero shooter that I would never have played if I wasn't into Gundam, right? And that was Gundam Evolution. I played it, and while it's fine, it's like I didn't really play it much. I didn't really care. It was fun to play with friends from the server every once in a while, but it was like there's so many games that I could be playing, and I think that's the main issue at the end of the day. So that is okay. So interesting point. I mean, as the studio, the people could still be within Sony. From what I understand, they got laid off. The entire team got laid off, and before that, it was the CEO, the main guy, the whatever left. There might be more information on there. Let me, because yeah, Jason Schreier. Okay, after much thought, it was termed the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. And then just some talk about it. Yeah, Jason Schreier saying it would cost even more money to rework the game to have free-to-play monetization and keep the servers running. Because they already kind of had it baked into the cost of the game to recoup the cost of making the game and it being, you know, like a purchased game and not like a free-to-play game. So it's... And then Ultron is bringing up the Marvel Rivals. I honestly think the only reason that's working is because it's Marvel. Because Marvel is such a huge property. I'm not even going to play Marvel Rivals because I know what kind of game it is, and I'm not a huge Marvel fan. I like X-Men, I like Blade, that's about it. The honesty is that most of the online games of this year are dead like FromSoftware. Yeah, exactly. I think there was this time, especially pandemic time, where then all these games started going in development. They're like, oh, everyone wants this. Now the world has changed a bit. Not every game can be the samey game. It's almost like people are like, oh, that works, so I'll just make one. But it shouldn't be like that. It should be, what's a neat, unique experience we can make for people? And usually these decisions are from more of the corporate style video game publishers, and not necessarily a craftsman, a developer themselves being like, okay, what's a game we should make? Which is the big thing here, and which is what I'm seeing a lot, especially a lot of the people that are in Bungie now. It's like there's a difference between like video game developers for hire and then a video game creator. Like a David Jaffe, Vince Zampella. That's why he's very successful, because he is a video game creator first that just happens to be in executive position. So then he can get greenlight these games. Like Apex Legends did really well despite it kind of being samey. The Star Wars, not Outlaws, the Jedi games did well, even though I don't like them. But it's because I see what he did. He knew how to make an experience for a mainstream audience. So it's like Vince Zampella is very smart to know how to, for a big-time publisher, make a mainstream game, but with core gaming in mind. First Descendant is trying so hard and leaning into the waifus to an extreme degree. That's funny when games have to do that, because it works. Kind of. Shame, because that has potential, but they are making not great choices. Yeah, that's the thing. It's pretty wild that it's gone this far. Like, it's almost like not in a good way, but a vindication for core gamers out there that a lot of these big companies that were depending on mass sort of delivering highly produced games are like really focused on the bottom line. And I mean, this is what we're seeing in Hollywood. This is what we're seeing in video game industry. Any industry where millions and millions can be made slowly turns into its own beast where they're just trying to maximize that. That's why you see games like The Precinct or all these other cool games that are smaller, but they're fun as hell. I mean, most of the fun I've had playing games this year have been smaller games. I mean, even SVC Chaos being re-released, I was not expecting that, and I spent so much time playing that game. Yeah, the grifting online hasn't helped and has created mixed messages. And I agree, because then I think there's some places where, for instance, the new Gundam show, people are trying to grift on that. There is nothing woke about it. But Concord, it was developed first and foremost as a message. I know, because think about it, the hero shooter is just a form that you can use to deliver what? And so they're like, okay, this is where we're going to double down on our messaging. Kind of the same thing with that Dragon Age, where it was like, okay, Dragon Age is the form we're going to use to send the message of this. And I don't know if you guys saw that Mr. Matty Plays video. It was 40 minutes of him diving. 40 minutes. Name a big reviewer that takes, and I'm talking about IGN, whatever, that takes 40 minutes to review something. He went in on the dialogue. Oh, even Sungrand Studios. Amazing. If you guys haven't heard of Sungrand Studios, video game developer, indie video game developer, that was breaking down the narrative in Dragon Age and how it just doesn't make sense. Like, they must have just hired people to put together a message and not a story. And it's incredible. But I'm not saying there's not a place for messaging. It's just it shouldn't be delivered through a hero shooter, a known IP. It should be something like Life is Strange, right? Life is Strange is very popular. I know a lot of people like that. And it started in that way, where it is a very socially conscious, personal story. And it does really well. What's that other one? That Gone Home? Is it Gone Home? You know, the one where it's like in the 90s and you're in that house, and that also had a story like that. Even though I played through it and I was finished, I was like, well, what is this? But for what it was and what it was doing, it was like, okay, that makes sense. So, okay, yeah, and Ultronymous hasn't popped up on my chat yet, but him saying Silent Hill has messages, but they know how to deliver it wrapped in a story. And that's something I have seen done very well. I think even Star Wars Outlaws, there are some moments where it's trying to say, hey, it's okay to be gay, which it is. There's nothing wrong with that, but they do it in a way where it's not like in your face, and it's actually very natural. It's like one of the characters, like there's no romance in Outlaws. Again, I'm waiting until the newest patch to really play through it. But there's a time where, as the girl, you go meet another girl, and then there's kind of some flirtiness going on, and it's really cool because it's not like in your face, and it's kind of charming. And then you kind of think about that as you go because it doesn't cement anything. Yeah, I really appreciate it when it's done well. Okay, here we go. Yeah, everything else popped up. Doesn't Steven always bring up how limitations lead to creativity? Smaller games got to be on point. Yeah, that's exactly it. that's my big thing too about limitations. From like that's why I like pixel art or games that are 2D because they're having to work in confined, I guess, space to think not only portray a story but also the intent. Silent Hill has messages, but they know how to deliver it wrapped in a story. Gone Home, The Walking Sim, yeah, that one, which I didn't know what to expect from it. And then I played it and I was like, well, this isn't a game I'd normally play, but it was short enough that I beat it and it was cool. I wouldn't say it's messaging, while it's all about pacing. Some will always complain about certain story bits. Yeah, I think some will always complain, but I think I like to, and again, it's not like I'm the arbiter of truth, but I think Sungrand Studios and Maddie Plays did a really good job of kind of breaking down where you can see that, okay, for instance, in Dragon Age, as you were talking to the character, based on your choices, they'll say like, oh, don't assume I'm this. And hey guys, I'm non-binary. But then when there's cinematics, the person would talk, the narrative would be completely different. They'll say like, yes, I'm from this tribe, so this, or this, or whatever. There's a certain, again, it's Dragon Age stuff, but it's a lot of times where it's, yeah, there, and this is right, you can never please everyone, but there's always, if you're doing an honest critique, you can go in and say, yeah, this does not match with this. That's why I was mad about the Sonic X Shadow thing, but at the end of the day, it doesn't truly change a whole lot. It's just disappointing that they're softening Sonic, like, if you know what I mean. Like, they're softening it. They're kind of changing that relationship dynamic with Amy and Sonic, but at the same time, that's not as big of a deal as, like, because I don't care. The Sonic story is not as big of a deal as a Dragon Age story. So for there to be such a disconnect between in-game dialogue choices that are the messaging and the cinematics that are the narrative, again, Sungrand Studios, Mr. Maddie Plays both have a video about that. Let's see. I know Maddie was upset as it being a final from the other choices within the other games and the random editor drama part. No, check out his 40-minute video. I mean, for 40 minutes, he went into specific details, not only gameplay mechanics, pacing of the gameplay, different just narrative things, and he even brought up good examples that work, but as a whole, it seemed like did they really spend that much on that? Like, so. Yeah, and I guess that's like the end of the day. If this was like an indie game and it wasn't called Dragon Age, it's probably pretty incredible. But because this is an EA published game, you could see all the checkboxes there. Not spending time on gameplay, but spending time on how can we have messaging and all that. But anyway, moving on real quick. So yeah, Concord again. Like no one showed up for Concord. That bottom line, no one liked it. What they were trying to do, and it wasn't the gameplay. Think about it. People just didn't pick it up. It's not like it had large numbers of so many people playing it and then stopping. It was like people saw what they were showing. They're like, well, what is this game? And no one cared. Okay, here's another one. So FromSoftware has a new project that's codenamed CL. So I'm down for another FromSoft Souls adventure. I would want them to do something very different, though. And I would say a good example of difference is from Demon Souls to Bloodborne. They're pretty different, even though they're kind of similar, right? Bloodborne added a lot more interesting mechanics, and the world was different. Then when you get to Elden Ring, like even for me, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3 were kind of samey, and I don't really think about them when I think of Souls games as much. But Elden Ring then went back and did something different. I would think that whatever the next one is, I hope that they do something different. There's, the Armored Core sequel. Even then, last year, that was a big disappointment. At first, I was having fun playing Armored Core, but I'm like, it's cool, but it's not. I think it was only as popular as it was because of how popular Souls games have been. Because it was just pretty basic. I mean, it was general 360 PS3 stuff, but I think it's, again, this messaging where people love FromSoftware. They're like diehard Souls fans. They will buy, like me, they'll just get the Armored Core because it's from software. But was it truly an amazing game? For me, no. I don't even think it was in my top 5. And again, that's just me personally. It's not bad. It's just that it's not like amazing or anything different. I mean, it's one of those weird things. Yeah, I loved the ones that were on 360. I think that was the last time until this latest one. Yeah, 4Answer, and there was like 2, I think, and one was like a remake of the other or something, where they were trying to redo it, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, someone in here then was saying CL stands for Castlevania, which, you know, honestly, I could see a FromSoftware Castlevania, because I already feel like they made it more in gameplay than in like narrative. Like, for instance, it's like dark fantasy. The Soul stuff is dark fantasy. Bloodborne is probably the closest to it, but that was more cosmic horror than it was gothic horror. They would have to make a Dark Souls where it's very gothic horror, and they make it where you just explore a castle. You know, there are some castles in Dark Souls that it's like, wow, they can just make this a bigger. It was just there's some scary moments in Dark Souls when you're in that castle. It's that one where I think you have to go along the roof and there's the archers and it's annoying as hell. But once you get in, like, it's kind of scary because everything, and that's what I like about exploring. Everything looks like a castle, like it's supposed to be. You'll just be in a room. But then, like, I remember a door would open, there'd be like this dark night. I forget what it's called, the Silver Night, Black Night, or whatever. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna be taken out. I'm scared. Like, I really think there is opportunity for FromSoftware to kind of visit the gothic horror side and make it constrained to maybe like a castle and then maybe an outside village or something. And then you can explore all that. Because the gameplay's the same. The things about Souls games in Castlevania that I love is fighting monsters and then trying to get to a save point before you die. And then leveling up, farming. And then learning the boss moves by having to repeatedly go from the save point to the boss and then figure it out, and then you die, and then you start again. Like, those are the exact same things that original, well, Metroidvania Castlevanias did and that Dark Souls does. Especially then when you find a key somewhere that then allows you to go back somewhere else. Like, those are like the main, and what they both do is they're very limited on narrative pacing. So as you go out throughout the game, you're just learning narrative here and there. It's not like stop, cutscene, this whole thing happens, now you're in a whole other area, and then all this stuff happens. You know, it's like a small part of the game that you could completely skip. Yeah, if they restricted it to a single massive castle, I think it would be dope using it creatively. That's 100% what I think they could do, and they could make it where, again, like there could be the sewers. You know, there could be then, like, you know, the bridges, so you're still outside, but going across bridges to different parts of the castle, and there's so much that could be done. And then Chris said, yep, as some grabbed it just because Elden Ring and Demon Souls. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad you see that, because, I mean, again, I'm not trying to say it was a bad game, but, you know, I mean, even, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, they should make a Gundam game, and then I played their Gundam game, and it's not bad, but it's not a full thing. It's, yeah, so. All right. Another thing that's really cool is that new Power Rangers Rita's Rewind being released December 10th. I can't wait for it. The screenshots here aren't showing it, but they said it's 70% Brawler, and then I guess the rest being like Space Harrier style, where it's like third person, but you're like on a track and you're fighting, and I like that, and I'm glad they're breaking it up like that. Now, I love the graphics here, and so I think that wins me over. There was an original Power Rangers game, Mega Battle, that was awesome. The graphics aren't as cool, but I could tell they were kind of going for, like, you know, what they could on the budget. What's cool about this Power Rangers game is you start off as the teenagers. You're not in your Power Ranger form, and it's as you go out and fight, you, like, gain it. But it's pretty quick. Let me see if I can. So, like, yeah, she just changed because it's early in the game. And And I think that's kind of the point of it. Yeah, and it had a really good combo system that I thought worked. Awesome Power Ranger music. Like, the people that put the music together for this really made it like modern metal. You can kind of hear some of it. And then where is the cool stuff? Okay, here we go. And then it had stages like this, first person, where you're fighting, in a Megazord. Like, this game was great, and it still is great. If you can get it, it should be put on PC. It's only on Xbox and PS4. And then, yeah, you can unlock the Green Ranger, maybe even the White Ranger. I don't know. But so I think it's cool that we've always got these awesome side-scrolling beat-em-up Power Ranger games. And, yeah, I can't wait for the next one. I just hope, for me, it's really all about the combat system. Like, I think G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra has a better combat system than Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. But Shredder's Revenge is wrapped in a better overall package in terms of pacing of the levels, in terms of the enemy types, and, like, I guess, time to kill, both enemies, yourself, and bosses. G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra, all of that is horrible except the combat, because there's a lot of combat. There's 2 buttons to do combos, and then there's double tap to do a button. There's hold to do a combo. There's hold down a button to charge up. So it has all these things going on that make it good. So I'm hoping when we get this, it's not just one button to attack and you just do it over and over. And then, there is, okay, so I will say, excuse me, the Y button here is used for the power up. That means it might only be X to attack. And what I'm saying is in G.I. Joe, X and Y are different attacks that you can use for combos. So that already tells me maybe that it's going to be limited in the combos, which I'm a little disappointed, unless it's the B button. But usually you would have X and Y near each other for comboing. So yeah, we'll see. Again, that was my beef with the Shredder's Revenge. Loved it. It was just too simple because there was not a real combo system other than attacking with X or jumping. The B button for dodge was cool. I like that you can run around and dodge and then go into attack, but when it's limited in the number of attacks you could do, it could be a little disappointing. So we'll see. Let's see. And we're getting to the end here, so let's kind of look at some news. EL odds business momentum after delivering record net bookings in second quarter. I mean, yeah, they got the sports stuff. Let's see. World of Warcraft-inspired menu is coming to Shake Shack next month. Wow, interesting. Let's see. Ubisoft quietly launches Web3 competitive turn-based RPG. Champions Tactics. Interesting. Oh my god, ad. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I saw NFT in there, and I just decided to go back. Yeah, sports titles drive record quarter for EA. Yeah. EA CEO pushes back against the idea of an Apex 2.0 to solve its issues after the title's disappointing quarter. Yeah, I think, yeah, a game eventually is going to go away. I mean, yeah, sure, Fortnite lasts, but not every game can do that. Again, Fortnite's become a platform. They should do an Apex 2.0 and just, again, like, change things up. Find what at the core makes it work, and that's really Vince Impella's direction, and then just, yeah, do something neat. Add in mechs. Make it Titanfall. Apex Titanfall. Black Ops 6. Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. Let me, yeah, because we're getting near the end here. Okay, so Call of Duty performance. Check this out. Black Ops 6 is the best performing COD in over 10 years. The first COD to ever have more console players on Xbox and PlayStation. Just over half. I don't know if that's true, considering like the original CODs in the mid-2000s, right? Around that area. Anyway, over half of Black Ops 6 PC players played it on PC Game Pass. Record day one subscribers to PC Game Pass. This is all good news. This is what Microsoft was expecting. It's happening. Game Pass is a very strong proposition. Those that have it know. And, you know, someone was arguing with me, I think on Gundam Explained, when I said, you know, Gundam Breaker 4 should be on Xbox. They're like, why? Blah, blah, blah. Xbox is failing. It's like, no. People aren't buying the Xbox console because you don't need to. You can just get Game Pass. So knowing that over half of Black Ops 6 PC players played it on PC Game Pass is kind of proof of that, you know. Even me, like whenever anything comes out on Game Pass, I'm playing it on PC. Not everything goes on PC that's on Game Pass, but most do. Sniper Elite 5, I played on PC. Ichi Like a Dragon, or one of the Like a Dragons, the new that came out in January, I played it into. I was able to play it on Xbox and PC because it was on Game Pass. So, is it turning into a sales game though? Well, you know, I don't know. I think the biggest thing though is, you know, they got record day one subscribers to PC Game Pass, and that is their end goal, is Game Pass. Because again, right now it doesn't matter. So one, it's the best performing COD in over 10 years. So obviously they're making money that way. The other thing too is they know that the sort of console isn't going to last much longer. So by front loading people into Game Pass, that's going to keep Microsoft to have a large active. They already have larger active users than PSN, and people don't realize that, I don't think. And because people are constantly looking at the console sales and thinking it's console sales, and it's not. It's active users. Like Fortnite. Fortnite doesn't sell consoles. You know, it's a free-to-play game. They have active users. It's the AU, active users. MAU, monthly active users. And that's what they're trying to get here with COD, and I guess it's working. Yeah, and then something that was announced yesterday is Xenoblade Definitive Edition coming in 2025, so that's pretty neat. A little more Nintendo news coming today. That might have been that. Referring to the Xenoblade news, so maybe there's more. I think that's about it. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're hyped for that? Yeah, I would be too. I'm just not a big RPG guy, and I know it has mechs in it, but it's not like a mech game. You know, it's even a lot of games I play that have mechs in it don't necessarily feel like a mech game. But it's one of those things where Nintendo's listening. This is what people wanted, and Nintendo's doing it. And I wonder though if then it will run really well on a Switch too. That's going to be the cool thing. All right, guys. Well, that was it. That went by pretty quick. I guess I went a little long on the Concord thing, but I just think it's, as a huge video game enthusiast, when we're seeing these larger video game corporations not really making games for the sake of making games, they're just trying to say, okay, what could we get people to buy? What could we get money from? And then we get things like Concord, which no one played. No one played to the point where they just cancel it, sunset it. It's crazy. So, all right, guys. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for joining. We will talk later.